All right, folks, I've seen a lot of people kind of struggling with their organ builds here in the server, so I want to make just a quick tutorial to show you guys how I put together my big organ. I definitely went for practicality over looks, but we've still got the basic concepts between the interfacing of Create, Sound of Steam, as well as MIDI as well. So just to kind of take you through the process of how it works, whenever I write a piece of music or transcribe it, I will set it as a MIDI file, and I have these MIDI files in this location. So C, users, your name, CurseForge, Minecraft instances. This is going to be your installation name on CurseForge or whatever you use. Config, MIMI, server MIDI files. There are two folders in here actually. There's the MIDI files, which are client specific. So these would be, if you're on a multiplayer server, these would be the files that you have access to. And if you're on a server, these are the files that belong on the server. These will be available to everyone. So that's where I put my MIDI files. Whenever I do these in MuseScore 3 because MuseScore 3 allows you to assign specific channels to, for example, the Great Division, the Swell Division, and the Pedal Division. So I have my treble, high treble for the Great Division in MIDI channel number 1. I have my Swell Division for high bass, mid bass, tenor, low treble in channel 2, and then my pedal division for the low bass is in the third MIDI channel. So that's how I kind of split up the music within the MIDI file. Now, everything comes from this transmitter. You need the transmitter block, not the transmitter like remote thingy from MIMI. You need the actual block itself. And in order to actually connect this to stuff, so if we want to play a piece of music on the transmitter, what this is going to do is this is going to send out all 3 MIDI channels. So what you need to do is place a relay. Whenever you place the relay, you want to right-click your transmitter, and what you're going to do is you are going to explicitly allow certain channels to go through. So because this is controlling the Great Division, I only have channel 1 enabled. I have also in the top corner set the transmission distance to the max because we need a lot of distance. Now, one thing that you need to know is that the transmitter can only transmit 14 blocks. So you will need an intermediary relay somewhere within that 14 block square around the transmitter, and then you can continue from there. So as you can see, I have my 3 divisions set up in different receivers from the MIMI mod. So we've got channel 1, channel 2, and channel 3. What I have done is I have gone through and I've made the entire range of that division. So my Great Division goes all the way from C1 up to C8. Now, an important thing to note is that these can be kind of a pain in the ass to organize. So I have in my block system, this is how I've programmed each receiver with the redstone links. So for octave 1, it's red, octave 2 is orange, 3 is yellow, 4, and so forth all the way up to 8. So now that I have my receivers, I'm going to do the same thing with like the relays, where with the receiver, I'm going to right click it to the relay that I want to bind it to, and I'm going to enable MIDI channel 1 only for this specific division. So I have one where it's only 1 enabled, only 2 enabled, and only 3 enabled. And I have one programmed for every single note that division can possibly play. I also have my trigger mode on note held, my held ticks on 1. That's really the only thing that I've touched. So I've got it for like C4, there's an A4, there's an A sharp 3, a D sharp 2. So whenever that transmitter plays a note, it's going to bounce through the relay. And then if one of these receivers recognizes that, let's say, an A sharp 6 is played, then what it's going to do is it's going to emit a redstone signal that's going to light up this link. And this link is going to broadcast a redstone signal to every A#6 pipe in this division. So as you can see, I have the redstone links all bound up together. On the bottom, they have their respective octave, and then on the top is the actual note. So I have acacia for A, a slab for sharp, birch, cherry, dark oak, endstone. F is cut tough, again with the F sharp, and G is granite. You can use whatever you want, but I like to use this just because it made programming everything really, really easy. But you're going to want to make a link for every single one of your relays, or not your relays, your receivers that you have. So how do you differentiate between the different divisions? Well, if you look at my octave identifiers, you can see that I use wool for one division. I'll use concrete powder, or concrete, I guess, for another division. And then I have terracotta for the third division. And I've repeated this exact same process for the other divisions. So, like for the swell, I have everything that goes up to, F8 all the way down again to C or B1 because I didn't put a C1 pipe in. And then over here to my pedal division, we go all the way from B0 up to C5. And you can see again, I have all the octaves laid out, but I'm using the concrete powder here instead of the wool or the terracotta. So now when it comes to the actual pipes themselves, let's say we go off of that A#6. There's an A#6 that comes from the transmitter. It goes through the relay. It lights up this receiver right here, and that redstone link is going to send a signal to all the different pipes that have an A#6, like that one right there. So the redstone links have been placed on the backs of the wind chests, and we'll talk about that in a second, so that when it receives that link, it's going to light up this pipe, and it's going to play a note for as long as that note is held. So how do we actually put the organ pipes together? There's been some confusion around that, especially with the recent wind chest update. Well, here's how this works. What you're going to need is you're going to need your wind chests. Arrange them in an order to where all of the arrows are facing in one direction. You will then want to place a wind chest controller where the wood part of the controller matches up with the wood part of the wind chest itself. So you'll essentially want to be facing away from the wind chest as you put the controller down. You will also need a mechanical fan blowing air into one of the faces of the block on the wind chest controller. This can be the bottom, the top, the sides, the back, wherever. It just cannot be here at the front, because this front face right here is what needs to face the wind chest. Once you have that assembled and you have some rotational power being applied to your fan, it doesn't need to be a lot. I think these run at like 16 RPM. You can start placing down your pipes, and if you put on some engineer goggles, it'll tell you what the pitch of each pipe is. And then as you can see, I have my redstone links from the receivers on the back of each wind chest. Now to control the stops themselves, I have a redstone receiver on the back of each wind chest. And for the identifier and on the frequency, I just put the pipe down that it's controlling. Pretty simple. So all of the redstone receivers with the Vox Humana on them are going to be a part of our Vox Humana stop. So when I come over here to my stop board, where you can see I've got all of my stops labeled, right now there's none of them on. When I pull this Vox Humana switch, that lights up the redstone links on the backs of the wind chest controllers, and there you have it. So, to play music, all you have to do is pick a song. So we'll just play this one, and it'll play automatically. And then you can play with the stops as you want. And you can see there that the notes are lighting up as the notes that are being played. And those pipes are playing those notes. So that's just a pretty behind the scenes, quick, easy explanation of how I've built my organ. Hopefully this can resolve any sort of questions in the future. I'm always happy to help answer questions as well. But that's at least how to interface the Sound of Steam mod with MIDI and play your own MIDI written music as well.